turn things on, we turn things off, we see if they work any better. Oh no, is that now working? It could work well, Anti-Snow.
I can hear you fine.
Well, in that case, my mic can't be muted if you can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting point. Is it now working? We shall pause. We shall find out. The suspense. Hello, Cog Spitfire. You'd better say something, Kai, because I'm not sure anyone can hear me, and I'm not sure why yet.
I don't know if they can hear me. I just hear no sound from Miz, but I'm not sure if they can hear me. Can you hear Miz yet? Oh, sound has occurred.
Can you hear
it's
me?
Quiet, says Aussie.
Sound has occurred, so you can hear both of us, OC. Wonderful. Well, there were some wonderfully fun, amusing, erudite, and philosophical introductions that did many things, including solving world peace. But unfortunately,
Yes.
I can't remember them all now. It's just
and
more
it was
than...
the meaning of life, so
That was in there.
now they'll never know. Yeah.
That was in there.
I'll keep it to myself, don't worry.
It probably wouldn't be good to share it around. There'd be consequences. We wouldn't want that.
Yep.
So we were just saying, it's a little quiet in MMOBuff Studios today. We have no Pseudo. We have no Gazimoff. We believe that Pseudo has been...
The Aurins are taking over. Ah.
Something strange has happened. We do believe that Pseudo has been trampled by a herd of rampaging Rowsdowers. And Gazimoff may have been sonically lacerated, apparently, by a largesse of Lopps. And you wouldn't really want that to happen to anybody. So...
Maybe tickled to death by Lopps. I think that would be okay.
Tickled to death? I don't know. Would you?
By Lopps.
I mean, first of all,
Lopps
you
on
wouldn't...
stick.
But the thing is, I mean, being tickled to death by anything probably isn't very pleasant. Does it become more pleasant if it's Lopps?
I think so. I think so.
We'll put that one to the channel. We'll let them answer later.
You can lick like a lollipop to help calm your nerves about being tickled to death.
I think if you lick enough of those lollipops, you'll have no idea what's happening whatsoever. You'll just see strange things and fall off tree branches. And that was my memory of that quest.
Yeah, same.
But we have a number of things to go through. Of course, it is Cosmotronic, it is Wildstar time, and things have been happening. It's been a busy week as always. We are preparing for the next big drop. The first big drop, I should say. It is the strain. It is soon going to be upon us. And we've got a few things there to talk about. The forums have been busy. People are debating multiple things. What should happen to those people who may have done slightly nefarious things with Elder Gems? What about the cost of respecking? And how are people getting along with both leveling, because let's remember, not everyone has all the time in the world to get to 50, but also for those of us now in the attunement race, busy attuning. And we've seen the first few kills as well. We've had the world first guilds shooting ahead. But we've even seen a raid boss kill on Eco now.
Ooh,
but without further ado, what is your highlight of your Cosmotronic Wildstar week been, Kai?
I will probably say playing on the PTR, or maybe killing the first boss in Storm Talon Veteran. I think that was good too.
All good.
What about you?
Well, I've been a little busy this week and managed to get some playtime in, but not enough. Still haven't managed to get capped. Got some dailies out the way.
Enough.
No, never enough. We have finally managed to get the missing rep that I needed, albeit that the fact that I've run both adventures and dungeons, as my wallet will testify. I wasn't able to actually get the attunement steps for the key. I now can. I'm now beloved with the exiles. It's a strange world. I'm not sure why, but we can make the most of that. So let's start with the PTR. The PTR is up and functioning. If you do want to log into Nexus, well, it's the only way you actually can log into the server Nexus, because that is where they've put the server name. So, what's on the PTR? Well, Kai, take us through it. What did you find?
So essentially the PTR is like a copy of the game Wildstar that you know now, except it tends to be a content patch ahead. So the content that you can play on the PTR that you can't experience in live is all of the strain content that we should be seeing at the beginning of July or end of June if we're lucky. And you'll be able to play through the 2 new zones, Blighthaven and Northern Wastes. You'll also be able to experience all the new dailies, all of the strain costume and hoverboards and housing items, and continue the world story as well. And without spoiling anything, because that's obviously what we don't want to do, it's nice that you can see all of the world story actually tie up together, rather than sort of having all of the story start at level 35. It actually starts tying up all of the loose ends in Nexus. So that's very interesting. You'll get to have a lot more lore and a lot more books to read, which is cool as well.
Yeah, because of course we get the next steps in the Dracera questline. I don't know if you've had a chance to explore those on the PTR.
I haven't had any actual instances as such, but they have these things called episodes, which is essentially the world story sort of quest lines. And when you become when you actually go into Blighthaven, you'll do a few just normal sort of quests to sort of introduce the zone, and then you'll start an episode, which is where you start seeing new parts of the story, and you get to see a lot of stuff that's really cool that I can't talk about. But I've just got to the part where I think I may be going to the Genesis Chamber, which I can say because it's on the Wildstar webpage. But yeah, so I think I'm about to go to the Genesis Chamber, so I'm very excited about that. So
you probably should let people know what the Genesis Chamber actually is.
Yes.
It's a room full of pew-pew lasers, clearly from the picture.
Yes, it's just like this room of like this walkway and just these big laser things pointing to the center. And it's essentially the chamber where the Genesis Prime was made. And I can't say any more. Too spoilery. It's where the Genesis Prime is made by the Elden. It's an Elden creation and essentially is like a god to the Eldens, and it was like their idea of perfection sort of thing. So you get to see all that. It's really cool.
And that's pretty high ranking, because the Eldens thought themselves quite high up sort of the tech evolutionary tree, really, didn't they? So for them
the Eldens were sort of like the most powerful race in all of Nexus. So for them to actually create something that was like their idea of perfection and their sort of goddess like thing, it's a pretty important role to have, I think.
We'll see what happens with that next. So we're seeing a continuation of all of these different styles of gameplay. Very easy for people to go, hey, I'm a raid, just tell me about raids, or all I do is housing, tell me about side tables. But there's lots of different playstyles in the game. Now, as we've probably come to expect of the devs, lots of different things in there for lots of different people. So we have a new adventure in there, I believe. Would you like to tell us something about that?
I actually don't know much about the new adventure. So yeah, if you know, tell me, because I'm not sure. I know that there is a big events that you can do. So I know in Blighthaven and Northern Waste there'll be like a bunch of big events, sort of like the Malgrave R12 event, which I think you finally just got to do.
Finally.
So I know about that, but I don't know about new adventures. So
okay, well, we'll see how accurate or inaccurate I am from my reading around this week. We've probably all run into Plants vs. Zombies, or in my case, run away from Plants vs. Zombies.
Ooh.
But my understanding of the adventure is it leans a little on that ilk. So you can decide to basically put down plants. Some are offensive, some are defensive. They're probably not quite plants. But one of them is actually of a type called loot. And the loot ones don't help you with offense, they don't help you with defense, but they give you shinies at the end if you survive.
Right.
And so the adventure is built around this concept, as I understand it. Haven't had a chance to play it. It is there on the PTR now, I believe.
Oh, I need to do it.
we should probably go do it afterwards.
Yeah.
So yes, we have another adventure. Now, I believe that the rewards in that are now geared very firmly towards max level players. This is a max level only, I believe, event. Pinch of salt in all of this, a little bit ad hoc. So we have the adventure in there. Of course, we have the giant brain thing.
Yes, the globellum.
The globellum, thank you. Tell us about the globellum.
So, I've actually swam in the globellum already, which is very cool. So the globellum is like this brain sort of creature that has is living inside of Blighthaven or on Blighthaven and it's sort of resistant to the strain. It's very weird.
Does that mean you're sort of swimming through sort of cerebellic brain fluid or something equally icky?
And it's weird. It kind of looks like blisters sort of on the ground, and there's loads of them. There's like the big globellum, and there's like loads of little globellums, and you can actually jump on top of them, or you can sort of squish in and swim through the globellum. And again, I'm not going to spoil the story, but you have a lot of quest lines that are based around the globellum because it's resistant to the strain, and it actually feeds everything in Blighthaven, so the strain can get stronger because of it. All of the animals and all of the wildlife, etc., is sort of feeding off the globellum, and people get captured and stuck inside the globellum, and it talks to you and it sort of tries to control your mind and things like that. So it's very exciting. A lot of quests are like revolving around it, and you'll get to swim inside it. And it's actually the first sort of, I think, area as such. It's not an area, it's just part of Blighthaven, but the first sort of water-based area, because I mean, even though it's not water, you're still swimming around and doing things inside it. And I think the only other place where you actually do something in the water is in a White Vale, where you collect the pearls, you know, that challenge.
Yep.
That's the only other thing we've had to do underwater, so it's quite nice to see some questing in a water environment. So
well, now, I'm going to come back on your water comment, or possibly not water comment, in just a moment. Just say hi to a bunch of people who are in the chat doing various bits and pieces. Rakaji, Cog Spitfire, Bid the Dog, Might Be Matty, Cami R. Yes, our 19 Ninjas friend. We have all sorts of people lurking, so hello to you all. Now, I want to pick up one comment, because not everyone, of course, is familiar with Wildstar, or even not familiar with MMOs. Now, someone just made the comment about, I'd love to get into MMOs, but I don't want to have to deal with microtransactions. Now, perhaps you could just tell us, Kai, just quickly, because many people will know, how does sort of the funding model and microtransactions play into Wildstar?
Okay, so to begin with, Wildstar has a very sort of traditional model with a slight twist. So you can just buy Wildstar for whatever it costs to purchase the game, whichever sort of edition you want, because there's multiple different ones. And then you pay your subscription each month, and you can, no matter what currency, you can pay for that. And if you don't want to pay for your subscription, you can actually purchase a 30-day game time with cred, which is in-game currency. So you can spend your gold that you earn in-game or plat to buy a cred, consume it, and that will give you 30 days of playtime. There isn't any microtransactions as such. You can't buy gear or mini pets and things like that. The only thing they have are services. For example, if you want to transfer your character to another realm or have a name change, those sort of standard things that most MMOs have nowadays, just for sort of, you know, ease of access to people that maybe have lost their guild, or, you know, maybe want to join a guild on a different server. You need to be able to change some way, and it, you know, it does cost money for them to do that service. So there's that. In form, like, it's not like a free-to-play MMO in the sense where you're going to be able to buy gear and special gems to buy things like that. It's just very traditional in that sense. So, you know, you're not going to have to deal with anyone like shoving ads in your face to buy things and stuff like that. It's very sort of, you know, you pay for your subscription with real money or in-game money. And I mean, Mitch, you can back this up as well. You can very, very easily pay for your subscription with in-game money. I'm at the point now in-game where our 30 days is just about to, well, in 6 days it will end. I could buy, at this very point in time, I could buy a year's worth of subscription with the money that I've got now in game.
I probably shouldn't say how little gold I have at this moment in time. I'm actually sub 1 plat, and I haven't yet bought a cred.
Yeah, I am just about to hit 10 plat, and I think on our server, Eco, the cred is ranging from, it'll go up to 5 plat sometimes, and then it'll randomly drop down to like 50 gold because everyone has suddenly bought loads. And I really, really like that, because if they are at 50 gold, I think, oh, it's worth it for me to actually buy a cred with in-game gold, keep it, and then when it goes back up to 5 plat, I can sell it again and make money. So it's really, really cool that people can actually work the system and the economy just like real life, but no one's losing money. You know, if you just want to buy a cred with real money, that's, you're spending that, and Carbine are gaining that money, but no one else is gaining real money. So it's not like, you know, you can't make a living off of Wildstar. It's only money being put to Carbine, which is great because it supports them, it supports players, it stops gold farmers, and generally just makes it all better, really. So.
Now, you're being asked lots of questions about your chair, so we'll
yes.
come back to that in a minute, but we were talking about underwater environment. Now, that raises an interesting question to me, because, I mean, I play a spell slinger, so I tend to be quite mobile. I like to move around a lot. I like to try not to stand in the big nasty red telegraphs with varying degrees of success, usually successful, it must be added. And I found the experience of trying to take on combat underwater problematic as a spell slinger.
Okay.
Not from a positional where is stuff perspective, I'm bad enough at that at the best of times, but from a I now can't move in the same way. I don't have the same freedom of movement. I can't circle strafe round something. I haven't got the same capacity to get myself places because I'm swimming really, really, really slowly. And something's meleeing me, and I can't get rid of it bar the cooldown on gate. So, what was the experience of trying to fight in a ranged way underwater?
Well, at the moment, I haven't actually encountered mobs per se that were attacking me in the Globellum, but we had to attack and collect some other things. So I'm not sure if there actually will be sort of mobile enemies that are going to attack you. In a PvP environment, this could be completely different. You know, you could be having PvP Globellum fights going on. It could turn into like a little, you know, WWE sort of...
You just get all the bodies like floating on the top, maybe, at the end.
But yeah, we only so far have had to sort of attack things in there to either collect them or free them, that kind of thing. So it's not been a mobile target. So you can just sort of stay still because I'm guessing because it's like a jelly consistency. I don't really want to think too much about being inside the Globellum, but you don't actually move. There's no tide, so it's not like water that we've seen in Wildstar currently. You do just stay still, and then if you want to swim, you know, there are various challenges where you've got to swim through various different hoops to get things and stuff like that. But yeah, so far I've not had anything attack me inside the Globellum. We've just had to use our combat skills to like free things and collect things and stuff like that. So yeah, I think Carbine is sort of on the same wavelength as you. They wouldn't give a very mobile game like a restriction of water, because I think that would be quite difficult.
So it's not so bad if you're melee, perhaps. You wouldn't suffer quite so much with that restriction. But it's certainly a little tricky if you want to like not be up close and personal with stuff. So any other takeaways? What are your? I mean, is the style, the graphic, the ambience particularly? Is anything really that different? Is it just there's more strain everywhere?
Well, at first, when you sort of enter the zone, it does look a lot like Western Grimble. So it's very strainy, but there are new mobs there as well. So there are things that you will encounter that you've never encountered in Nexus before, which they do detail. So there's new mobs, new telegraphs, new mechanics. So straight off the bat, it's interesting. But you will have the sort of familiarity. You will. She wants to be on the show.
She's successfully being on the show right now, we should add.
But there is that familiarity. Like I said, there are NPCs and characters that you will have known before that sort of tie it all together, so it doesn't feel like this random new zone. But there are areas in it which are stunning. I think they're the most beautiful areas in Wildstar, and I absolutely love Wilder, and I think that zone is great. But there is a lot more. If you think back to the Drusera instances and the light spires and things like that, there are entire parts of the zone that look like that, which are just glowing and golden. Everything's gold. The mobs are all gold. So that's really, really nice to see that. You kind of see the lore in front of you. You see that that's sort of fighting back the strain, and there's a clear divide between what is being looked after by said people and what is being taken over by the strain. So yeah, it's quite shocking, the difference, and it actually sinks in and it makes it seem more real. I guess it's immersion, isn't it? But yeah, that really stood out. The art is obviously the same, but they've added a lot of things that we haven't seen before, which is nice because you don't want a whole content patch. They kind of are in that motive, aren't they? They want to give you stuff you want to pay for, and if it just feels like they're just taking assets and copying and pasting, it doesn't feel like it's worth it. But this definitely feels new, and I stepped foot in Northern Wastes for a very brief moment, so I didn't actually get to see much of it, but from what I can tell, it looks very like Northern Wilds, which is the same zone, but it's just a lot more congested with the whole faction war thing going on. So
Okay.
I think it's good.
We shall see what happens next with it. I wonder whether all the player base is just going to migrate to these 2 new zones as soon as they pop up. Or will people still be split between all the places they're at now?
Well, I guess, I mean, I'm hoping that people are sort of rushing to get to 50 before that content comes out, because obviously it is level 50 content, and that's what Wildstar have always sort of been about, that, you know, their Elder game, and this is the Elder game, it's the continuation of the story. You wouldn't understand what was going on if you didn't level to 50. So I think obviously there will be people leveling still, but I think all 50s will probably just rush there. And the fact that the entirety of Northern Wastes is a daily area, so much like Crimson Badlands. We'll be seeing people there, and I think maybe Crimson Badlands will get a bit neglected, because to be fair, once you've done the dailies there and the rep, there's nothing good to buy from that vendor, and you don't really get anything from getting that rep. But I have actually been getting rep for the Northern Wastes because I'm a settler, and the settler buff the settler quest we hand in at the end of Crimson Badlands actually gives us rep for that zone unintentionally, which is quite weird. It's the Guardians, I can't remember their name, Guardians of something.
That would be the new Pell, which is actually on here. It's going to be the Sanctuary of the Keepers, I think, is going to be the name of the adventure.
Guardian of the Keepers, I think, is the Guardian of the Keepers, I think, is the name. And yes, you'll get rep for them. So I'm thinking that people aren't too fussed about rep for Crimson Badlands to actually continue doing it. And I think that zone may be a little bit derelict. Maybe that everyone else will just head to Blighthaven and Northern Waste. So maybe.
Well, let's touch again then on the state of the game at the moment. Now, we've obviously got our own opinions and empirical evidence from those we see around us. It would be good to get views from the channel actually on this. And where would you speculate the average player is at the moment? There's the whole 0 to 50, but then you do the 50 plus, and you get into the interesting dilemma. Or for some, it's not a dilemma. To attune or not to attune. And as people are discovering, attunement's not particularly quick or simple.
No. And I think a lot of people like that, though. I mean, as much as it is frustrating to not be able to just jump in raids, I also think that these sort of hardcore people are liking the fact that they're working hard to achieve something, and there's already quite a big sort of step to actually even get in raids. So not only will it be easier for guilds to recruit people, because I mean, if you recruit people and you have to say, that this part of the achievement, you already know they've got some sort of experience and skill to have gotten there, so you sort of are proving yourself as a player. And it also means that not everybody can just fall into raids and just accidentally kill something. You have to work for it, which I think is good. It's also a good time stealer, because it does take time. I mean, I'm on step, I think if I actually look at my key, I'm on step 5 or something, and I've been working on it for a week.
5 of
solidly,
13.
I think now. Yeah, 5 of 13. So it is quite lengthy, and veteran dungeons aren't the easiest thing to get through. I think as a guild, we've managed to do all of the veteran dungeon bosses except the last one. So yeah, it's taken time, but it's fun. It's enjoyable still.
Now, we're just being asked a few more things in the channel here. Do we show footage from games? Yes, we do. We're actually not set up to do that tonight, but we do that as and when. We even play in real time. And I've got a funny feeling sooner or later, Kai, we may have to have one of these veteran adventures coming up on one of the shows. Yeah. But we'll do that when we have the full crew here, and you can watch us die horribly and laugh, or something to that effect.
As a note, though, bit of self-promotion, I know, but if you are looking for footage of the next update or PTR footage, I've got 3 episodes on my YouTube channel, which is just KaeyiDream, of the PTR. So if you want to see what these zones we're talking about look like, feel free to go there and you can see those. And you can see the difference between sort of Grimvault and Blighthaven.
Indeed. Now, one thing I'm going to do as a quick pause, I'm going to loop back briefly. If people haven't seen the strain, we've got a little opportunity here to give them a bit of a sneak preview, he says optimistically. So what we're going to do is see how well I'm going to use the phrase again people don't like, how well these magic buttons work. Now this here should be, and wait for things to update, there we go. We have a window on the website, so to speak, and we're now taking a look very briefly, and we'll show people 2 minutes of the Wildstar flick explaining the strain.
Rated T for teen.
Deep beneath the surface of Planet Nexus, something horrible lies in wait. Something beyond silence. Ultra Drop! Welcome to Blighthaven. Smell the wonders of Kangaroo Swamp. Enjoy the gastrointestinal terrors of the Globella. Party down with the entity's mutated minions and more. Survive it all, and you might just get a fat stack of strain-infected gear. Guaranteed to make your legend go totally viral. Strain Ultra Drop. Did you digest all that?
There we go. We try and kill two birds with one stone. Let people get a quick sneak preview of a little bit of what it looks like. And I definitely need that hoverboard.
I don't like it. I don't like this train. I think it looks ugly.
It isn't very orange. It probably is pink, but that's like the 4th stage of growth or something like that.
When I walk around and I see like the bulbousy, like cysty type things, I just think they're ugly. It makes me cringe. Ugh. I don't like it. I'm all for like the keepers of the whatever they're called, the Pell.
The nice shiny people that don't like the strain.
The shiny Pell, yes, I like them. I'm on their side.
Excellent. Now, we're going to dig into something else then for a moment and get some opinion. And I've been keeping an eye on the forums this week, and there's a couple of threads that keep coming to the top. And one of which, of course, is people talking about respec costs. I should probably elaborate on this a little, particularly for those that haven't tried to do this a lot. Now, cards on table, I am one of these players that likes to respec far too much. I like to hit stuff, I like to test stuff, I then like to change one variable and test it again, because I can. Yet, it's not the easiest thing to do if you want to change your amps out as well. So really quickly, you have your LAS, you have your abilities you can pick and choose from. You'll pick and dip 40 odd abilities and you can put 8, 9 on your bar. You can change those at whim, but if you want to test different priority orders or rotations or which things do I make tier 8 to give them extra abilities, you really want to change out your amps, your support capacity, the way you augment yourself be better at certain things at the same time. But changing out your amps costs money, and it costs 50 gold every single time you change out your amps, or half a plat. Now for some of us like Kai who are swimming in plat, that's not particularly a concern. But the questions...
I could still only respec a number of times. That's, it still is quite expensive for me. I haven't respec since I hit 50.
Yeah. I think I've respec 3 times. And I would have respec 10 times if it weren't for that limitation. I would literally respec, go hit a target dummy for half an hour and spec back again. Or change one more amp and then do it again.
So that's the thing is, I think because Wildstar has such a variety of different specs that you can have, as one character, as one class, you can play 2 different roles, but you can also be a hybrid in all of those roles. So essentially, you could have 4 different types of spec. Yep. And I think 50 gold is quite high, because if I put it into actually perspective for those of you who may not play or aren't 50 yet, 50 gold is the amount of money that you get in when you do your dailies if you are Elder Gem capped. So you would have had to have played all week to get Elder Gem capped by doing your dailies every day for around about 3 or 4 days, and you'll be Elder Gem capped if you do a couple of adventures and stuff like that as well. And so 50 gold is what you will earn by doing your dailies. So essentially, you'll earn 50 gold in a day. But I mean, if you're wanting to reset multiple times, you'll just be, you know, losing money essentially. You'd have to play a whole day just to be able to respec. And some people don't have a whole day to, you know, do that once they're Elder Gem capped. So
I've not even managed to get Elder Gem capped since hitting 50.
yeah.
So there we go. No, it's not happened. I ran a lot of fun running some adventures, testing stuff the other day. Not adventures, dungeons. We were testing going through on the cave with the Lop and the bubble.
Oh yeah,
Skullcano, that's the word I'm looking for. So Skullcano, partway through, you either go above ground dodging stuff or below ground with a friendly Lop, and that one's a bit harder. It's got some quite tough DPS checks in it at various points. And we were testing this as a group, and we must have died to this 10, 15 times, learning it for the first time, working out how to do it. It was pretty expensive by the time I came out of there. So cost of life just generally can be quite high. And that by itself, I don't think is a problem. Economically, there has to be gold sinks as well as gold faucets, money coming in as well as money going out. But a lot of people...
We've got like repairs on our housing, haven't we? You know, if we've got to repair our fab kits and gardens and stuff like that. So that's a gold sink as well, which I think is fair. So.
I must confess I've let some of mine go into disrepair recently. I finished that epic night of wiping in the Lop cave on 15 silver, I think.
Oh.
Simply on repairs. So,
yeah, that's tough.
But there's something compelling about the fact that we actually want to be in there doing it. That says a great deal. So the question is asked, and what do people think in the channel? Clearly there needs to be a cost to do stuff. And clearly you have to tailor income based on people that are Elder Gem capped, because there's plenty that will be. But the question is, what's reasonable? Where should those gold sinks be, and how large should they be?
I think definitely the gold sink should be on repairing. As an MMO player, like, you're used to repairing your gear. If you die, you should be penalised for it. Although I find I have to repair my gear even if I don't die, so that's a bit strange. You know, even if I'm addicted to grinding mobs in the Grim Vault at the moment. The whole guild will know I'm there all day long. I'm grinding them, and even if I don't die, just being hit seems to damage my gear. And now, after about an hour, I'll repair, and it will cost me 2 gold. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but I'm not dying, so I think that's, you know, a little bit weird as well, that we're having to repair even if we don't die.
I think there should be a cost. But at the end of the day, if you're just using your gear, wear and tear.
Yeah.
But there should be a really clear demarcation between I'm dead, that death cost me 2 gold, or I've run around for an hour, that cost me 2 gold. And I like the fact there's a skill differentiation on I play better, I die less, hey, life is cheaper. That to me seems like a good thing. But I guess the question is, what should the drain on finances be? And very, very few things I've really gone, no, I don't like that. But the theory crafter in me doesn't like the amp costs.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and especially when they're changing amps and abilities so often because they're balancing, I really think that it is quite unfair that you have to pay 50 gold, because it might not be something to do with you. You might have a perfect build that you absolutely love, and they may tweak something because they think something's either overpowered or underpowered, and therefore now your best sort of spec that you can do is different, and you need to recost it. You know, that patch, because they decided to change something, it's now cost you as a player 50 gold, which is essentially, your dailies that day. And granted, as I said, if you're Elder Gem capped, you can get 50 gold in, say, half an hour, which doesn't seem like much of time, but you had to have been Elder Gems before that. So you kind of had to have spent already previously like 2 or 3 days to get capped. So it's a lot of time that you've got to think about. For someone like me, it's not a problem. I'm on like 10 hours a day. But for some people, like your salesmen, you've got your companies to run, work to do. It's a lot of money if you're just wanting to change your spec for something. And I think maybe they should, make it, cheaper for the first time you respec your amps in that week, say, and then if you respec it another time in that week, it's more expensive. I think that's a much fairer way, because the people that are constantly respecing are going to have to pay more. But for someone who just wants to respec the once, 50 gold is quite a lot. But yeah, it's one of those weird situations.
I do have a potential solution that I would like to see, of course. Everyone has their pet things. I see the value in I'm changing how I play the game. There's a cost. The bit that sticks in my throat a little is I want to test stuff. I want to build spreadsheets. Yeah. Now there's a cost for doing that. It would be great in the area where the target dummies were and things like that. There was an NPC who let you switch out amps freely on something like a 10-minute debuff and they switch back. So I could go speak to the NPC, get the debuff, change whatever I wanted, but I can't walk away and take it to a dungeon. I can't walk away and take it to PvP unless I go, I want to pay for this. Click, lock this in. So that's one nice idea. Diminishing returns is another great one that we've seen in other games. That could work quite well, of course. It is worth pointing out for those people that are busy collecting up their Elder Gems, which will lead me to the next topic in a second. You can, of course, get more amp sets. I think, is it 4 you can go up to, I think?
Yes, I think you can, 4, and you can get an additional, 7 ability points, and I'm not sure how many amp points that you can get, but so you can go up to 4. So essentially, really, who needs 4 specs? I mean, I can't think of someone who would need more than 4, but I mean, maybe I would have my healer spec, my DPS spec, then healer PvP, then DPS PvP, but that's just loads.
There'll always be an edge case.
Yeah, someone will need like a million specs. This is my Skull Kano build. This is my Storm Talon's Lair build. This is my Raid build. So there will be people, but the fact that you are getting additional, but how long does it take you to get those additional sets? I mean, how much do they cost? I can't remember the cost of them. I know
not cheap.
It's at least a couple of weeks that you've got to just get Elder Gem capped every week for said weeks. So.
But here's the thing, it's actually, for me, the opportunity cost, and I'm going to throw this out there for spell slingers everywhere, and it may apply to other classes as well. I'm just not qualified to say. Mathematically, the difference in actually purchasing your extra ability points to be able to run a spec that, say, uses 3 tier 8s is really, really big. Being able to put Flame Burst, Ignite, and Quick Draw all on T8 is going to be massive in DPS terms. And we can see this in the spreadsheets already. Can't do it yet. At least I can't. You'll have had to have done interesting things with Elder Gems to have that capability today. Because I don't think that theoretically there's been enough time yet to physically do it. But that means to me, it would be a daft choice for me to make to choose to buy another set for amps. Or to choose to buy something else. Because it's an inefficient choice. Now, if you're not worried about DPS numbers to the level where you say, hey, I'm going to be raiding, I want to be competitive. Or, even in my case, it's I want to compete with other spell slingers in the guild for fun. For the internal competition. So I'm going to do everything I can to not let them leave me in the dust too much. And things of that nature. So it's easy to say, I'll just buy some more LAS sets. But that's not necessarily a smart choice for people. Now,
it's one of those things where if you're a person that needs an extra LAS set, you're also the person that sort of needs the extra amp points. So it's sort of a lose-lose situation, really, because you're just going to have to, at this point, you just have to spend the gold and suck it up. And if you don't have the gold, you have to keep the spec that you've got for the time being. And that's pretty much it. I think they will have to they'll have to look at it, whether you pay once and then you can respec your amps as many times as you want that week. Something like that would be nice, because you could pay for the once, you can test all these different specs for a said couple of days, and then you could just keep the spec that you decided was the best. And I think that's good, but paying 50 gold every time when you're trying to sort of min-max is very, very tough. So
it adds up fast. Now, someone was making a comment, and I must confess, not a game I've played, saying to reference Champions Online Powerhouse. Now, OC, unless Kaeyi can jump in and save us, you're going to have to fill that one out for us, or someone is going to. Not a game I've played. Is Powerhouse a class, a place, or a strange type of food. I really don't know in context of Champions Online. Now, this brings us on to one of those thorny topics, and there may be no right answer here, but we do know there have been some slightly unusual bugs and bugettes out there which have allowed people to get their hands on some Elder Gems that they probably shouldn't have got their little claws on. For example, one of the bugs that's been recently fixed, you could make an architect item that sold for 5 Elder Gems.
Which is crazy.
Now, I'm going to get on my soapbox high horse thing for a moment, and sadly I've not got enough bricks to throw at the people who thought that was somehow okay. Now, there is nothing in-game that clearly could make someone reasonably think, make item, get Elder Gems. I'm sorry. No. If you thought that was an intended game mechanic and not a bug, I don't believe you. I'm afraid that is the only way that I'm going to phrase it. So
I think personally someone that sees that is exploiting it. Like, that is
clear.
A pure exploit, I think. I mean, granted, it's a mistake that someone made from, having that item there. It was a bug. But if you do it 30 times, it's an exploit, and you should be...
I could even understand someone doing it twice. Oh, I saw one of these.
Yeah.
Where'd the gold go? Oh, so did that really just... maybe even 3 times to confirm it's actually real. But someone doing it enough times to pick up enough Elder Gems to get every single amp set and every single ability point? No. And I'm going to pose the question. I don't believe that's accidental. I can only believe people are doing it with clear intent. They are gaining a significant advantage on their character for doing so. What should the suitable response be? Clearly, the exploit where found has been stopped. You can no longer sell... I'm not even going to mention the item in case it ever comes back. You can't sell item X to gain benefit Y. But now what should we do to Bob? Bob is sitting there with every single tier point and every single thing in existence.
Well, there's the thing that I think they should do, and then I think the thing that they probably should do. But I think they should at least have their amp point and Elder Gem sort of progress reset. At least if they can do that, they should be able to take those amp points away, the action sets away and all of that, and sort of reset them back to sort of 0 Elder Gems or however many they had before. Personally, in my opinion, that person should be banned. That's clear exploit. That's what I would do. But as a new game, I don't think it's smart for them to start. I don't know, it's one of those weird things. They need to make an example of people, that they also need to not look like assholes, like, straight away. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to look bad, but I would ban that person.
Are they looking... I mean, I put the question... Are they looking more arsey if they are banning people, so those that didn't do that go, great, I now don't feel as if, I'm stupid for not using the exploit? Or is it more of a problem if they come down too hard? The problem is you can't even necessarily say, just by taking the Elder Gems away, things are now okay again. What about the extra capabilities on that player? What about the runs they got into for 2 weeks and the loot that dropped because of the extra capacities they have? What about the access to content and progress and stuff because of their capabilities whilst being unsuitably augmented? Delete them. No. Delete
their Genesis key.
Oh, no, that would be a suitable punishment. Anyone that does that gets their Genesis key revoked and they need to reattune. I'd be fine with that one.
And all their gear deleted and their gold and Elder Gems taken away, I think.
So someone like the experience of not attaching an authenticator to your account, then?
Yes, you've been hacked by Wildstar.
So let's see what the channel thinks. Might be Matty thinks there should be a ban. Bit the Dog says no ban. Ariel says character rollback. I do wonder how problematic the character rollback is. What about gold they made and sent to someone else? It all gets complicated. The principles are fine. I don't disagree with the principle of rollback. I'm unsure technically how simple or not simple it is to actually do.
I mean, if they did it 5 times, I would say maybe they would get a warning. I don't know what sort of system they have, but in WoW you could get warnings for things, and you could get 24-hour bans. So maybe if they did it quite a small number, a warning, or like a 24-hour ban so that they couldn't play for that day. But if they did it sort of 30 times or above, I think that person knew exactly what they were doing, and there's no excuse for that, because what architect would make 30 of an item and then vendor them?
I think the number had to actually be more than 30 to cap stuff. It wasn't. Now, there is one thing that should be pointed out as well. I'm not precisely sure how expensive, but I wouldn't be surprised to discover that the cost of making the items by buying the materials off the commodity exchange probably was pretty high as well. I'm not suggesting this was anyone could do this in 10 minutes. I think to have the materials to make the items, to then sell off the items in that particular example, and there were others, you're probably buying 5 or 6 cred to be able to buy the items to be able to do it. So again, it's just not happening accidentally.
No, they would have spent real money to then buy the cred, to then sell the cred for gold, then to buy the things, then to get Elder Gems. So essentially they're using, real money to get Elder Gems. And it's one of those things that, essentially, as I said, it was someone at Carbine's mistake that happened that caused this. And those things do happen. And unfortunately, it was just it's a game-breaking bug. It honestly is. For some people, that's ruined the whole idea of progression and things like that. Luckily, I think it was a very isolated incident. I haven't heard that, hundreds of people have done it. I just heard that it was a thing. And they straight away, as soon as they figured it out, took the game down, emergency maintenance, that was it, patched it. And I think it was that day. I don't think it was longer than 24 hours that it was a thing. I didn't know about it until after it had been fixed. So, it was just one of those things. But banning, like someone just said in the chat, it is harsh when you get banned from something that you pay for, but you do sign an EULA, and technically you don't own Wildstar or your copy of the game. Technically, EULAs basically state that all property is owned by Carbine. I don't know word by word.
You have a right to use. That's really the short version.
You have a right to use it, yes, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the right to use it. You're paying for the right each month to carry on using it. And if you don't adhere to their, rules and regulations, then you can be banned, and you can't argue that, And normally it's an IP ban as well with games like this, so you would have to probably move house before you can play again, or get a new IP somehow. But yeah.
What I do find interesting, though, is just taking the channel at the moment, there are 2 or 3 very strong views which contradict each other as to what the right response is. And it does illustrate one point. Whatever Carbine do, they're going to be seen as being completely wrong by a percentage of people.
Yes.
We both are competitive gamers. That will colour our mindset, because we will object massively to the potential advantage that someone else has and how it discolours the game.
If I know that guild then got server first, I would just be, if they were on my server and then they got, a kill before my guild did, I would be furious. Yep. I would be constantly sending emails to everyone at Carbine I knew, telling them to revoke their thing and ban their guild. As a sort of, a committed gamer, let's not use the word hardcore because it's a bit it's a bit, depends on what sort of viewpoint you come from. But as someone who likes to play and be successful in whatever game they play, I do get very upset if people cheat to get an advantage, or if, there is some way of gaining it. And I'm an honest person. If I saw that bug, I would have reported it. That's the kind of person I am. And I hate when people exploit stuff.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Apparently, though, as long as I keep pink things in the background, all will be well, according to the channel. Yeah. And I have to comment on some really quite surprising and startling artwork that came our way during the week. For anyone who is keeping an eye on Twitter, they may have seen that particular reference. But there was a Mizpah, I believe, as a jacket-wearing, pink underwear-wearing honey badger.
Oh, God.
There is a story there, and it's just too long to tell in this particular episode. You know how these chats go in strange places. But that was Katamari again doing amazing things. So there we go. Now, let's see. We have a couple more things to dive through. But before we even go into that, Kai, what's next for your character? Where are we up to?
Ooh, hopefully, well, I'm at the point in my attunement that I need to do veteran dungeon runs, so I need to clear them and get silver or above. I'm actually at the point now where I'm trying to sort of min-max my gear, so sort of running the specific adventures that I need to get certain bits of loot, so trying to get gold runs specifically. Most of the day my character spends grinding in Grim Vault to try and get a BOE Psyblade that will never drop for me.
But you've
even
dropped
every other
37
BOE
other epics for everybody else.
Me and Preds, another member of our guild, is literally gearing up the entire guild because we are grinding these mobs and they are dropping medic DPS resonators, they're dropping epic gadgets, epic implants, all of this epic BOE loot that we can
Can I
sell
put
for
in
10 flat.
an order, please, for a Spellslinger epic gadget? Because my one's still green. I don't like it very much.
Oh, I just gave Martin one, so the next one I'll give to you.
That works.
But yeah, all of these epic things, you know, selling for 10 plat, we just give in to guild members because that's what Enigma's all about. But none of it's dropping from me. I'm not getting anything, so I'm just, yeah, it's quite funny actually. It's like a joke. I think I'll probably get my the pink Psyblade before I actually get this BOE epic on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, for my part, this weekend, if I can, I'm planning on getting a full day to run around without being interrupted. We'll see if I manage to make that happen, but that is the aim. And it's all about adventures. I am now able to go do adventures and get the rewards for them. I've done 3 of them already at the gold level. One of them's changed, so that's a little tricky now for many people. But we'll be trying to get through those this weekend. And we better start putting our guild thinking cap on and start thinking about raiding in the not-too-distant future. But we'll have a bit. We'll, of course, have the chance to do the rest of the gearing up in the strain. See what comes our way off the back of that. But
yeah.
I'm still going to stand by what I've said and what I've seen recently is the community feel in the game is as strong as ever. Even at 3 in the morning when I do manage to lock it, there's still people doing things. And
it's crazy, like even in the daily areas in Crimson Badlands, I go there and I at least see 10 other players, no matter what time of day it is. You know, there's always a herd of like 30 people standing outside the Commodities Exchange. It's always busy, and I love that. I think it's great to see this sort of vibrant atmosphere because in a lot of games when there's been so many servers, it does feel a little dead, and this definitely does feel like a multiplayer game. You know, there are a lot of people, so.
And then I'm going to leave people with a passing thought. I'm going to reference another game. Now, do you remember playing, and was it, I've got to think of the name, the death character in Guild Wars? Someone may be able to give me a prompt here, please.
I think it was just Necromancer, wasn't it?
No, this is sort of the death scythe character, the god, Do or Dur or something in the game.
Oh, you're talking about, yeah.
Dom. It was 3 letters, and I'm sure it began with D. But anyway, they had this sort of god avatar, and they had a fantastic way of banning players permanently when they did an account ban. I don't know if you've ever seen this, and if not, you need to go look it up on YouTube, because it's one of the best things in a game ever. If your character got banned for something like gold selling or whatever else, people around you would see this avatar of death come floating up through the floor, swing a scythe, and actually kill your character. And that was it, you were banned. And everyone knew what it meant. So I think now we've found a use for the Rowsdower that's in the strain flick.
Yes.
We need to have dumb. Thank you. Thank you, Blue Blob. I was close. It's dumb. DHWM. Or UUM. Rowsdower of Doom needs to emerge and bite your head off, or whatever it is they do. So can we see that implemented, please? Quick request. I'm sure that'll take you just 5 minutes. No problem there at all.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be a good reason to get banned, Rakachi, I'm afraid. Tempting though it would be. But I'm sure we'll see it happening to others. But on that note, I think we've wrapped things up, Kai. Is there anything you would like to throw out into the ether before we disappear?
Make sure you get to 50 before the strain content comes next week.
Yes. And we'll see where people are. I'm going to make a phone call in the week. I'm going to try and get, see if there's any official consensus on what the average level is and things like that. We'll see if we can come up with some stats for next week's show. In fact, I might make it my mission to come up with 10 interesting stats about Wildstar. We shall see what the future holds. But to everyone who's been watching, thank you kindly. Blue Blob, thank you for the reference to Derm. Vegas, good to see you. Manadrizzle, it was indeed Guild Wars 1 we've been talking about. But Kai, say your goodbyes.
Bye.
And as always, this is Mizpah for MMOBuff. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining in. Signing off.